Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. Unfortunately, we're not in the East Dulwich Tavern this week. They had an event going on, so we are filming from home. But I am pleased to say I've got Michael McCubbin and Henry Hill for you. McCubbs, how are you doing? Are you enjoying the transfer window?
Yeah, trying to. Yeah, no, it's all right, isn't it? It's the same every year. It's actually probably been a bit more entertaining in the first month than it has been in quite a few years, actually. So yeah, like there's lots going on, isn't there?
Absolutely.
What about yourself, Dukes? How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little bit worried about Sunderland. We haven't signed a player yet, but I have just had a weekend away in Latvia, which was lovely. I highly recommend Riga. It's a beautiful city, one that I hadn't been to before. And it was a pleasure to visit. So shout out any Latvian fans we have on Euro Football Daily. Henry, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Absolutely thrilled that Fulham are going to sign Andreas Pereira. He's exactly who I wanted when the transfer window opens. Was it 7 goals in the last 8 years or something like that? If that's the man to replace Fabio Carvalho, the future's looking bright for Fulham, let me tell you right now.
Okay, there we have it. Yeah, less Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, and in comes Andreas Pereira. Anyway, today we're going to talk about hidden gems, neither of which fit into that category, Milinkovic-Savic or Andreas Pereira. Obviously, we've seen some massive moves this summer already for Zubamendi, Haaland, Nunes. But today we want to talk about the players that could be moving for those sort of fees in the future, but for right now are maybe a little bit undervalued, a little bit not talked about. And the first one we want to talk about, McCubbs, looks like a done deal to Man United, at least as we film this on Wednesday afternoon. Afternoon even, that came out a little bit Scottish. And that's Tyrell Malacia from Feyenoord. How excited are you about the prospect of him coming into Old Trafford and potentially meaning Alex Telles maybe gets sold? Is that the idea here, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, you can't have 3 left backs vying for one position, can you? Surely, I think he seems quite promising. 22 years old, 15 million euros. On the face of it, seems like a relatively sensible move. But again, Eredivisie to the Premier League is always quite a tough step up. Lots of players struggle to adapt quickly. Yeah, I don't think United fans should be kind of getting completely carried away with this. But then again, he was a target for Lyon. Obviously, United came in last minute, effectively hijacked the deal with a better fee, and almost certainly with a better wage packet for the player as well. And this is a player who Ten Hag wanted at Ajax as well, and I think that's probably the kind of aspect of this deal that has me most excited, is the fact that this is a player that Ten Hag very much wants, and has already thought about, at least probably for the last year or two, how he would want to integrate him into a starting 11. So in terms of the Ten Hag project, I think that's a very promising aspect of the deal. And yeah, it seems like it's all pretty much there. Frank Arneson, who's the director of football at Feyenoord, obviously of Chelsea and Tottenham fame before, said that the agreement's there. They're just now waiting for the player to say yes, essentially, and that's expected to go through. So yeah, like you say, Dukes, Alex Telles probably will be the player making way in that sense. I don't think Ten Hag's been particularly impressed with him since coming in. I don't think he had a very good season last year at all, although I think he got 4 assists in the end in the league, but it's been very rare that he's shown anywhere near the kind of technical ability needed to play for a top 4 Premier League side. I know he's got a lot of Champions League experience with Porto, but never really looked like reproducing that kind of form in the Premier League. But as for Malacia, sorry if I've butchered his name, by the way. I'm not familiar enough. I haven't looked up a pronunciation for his name yet. But he's been at Feyenoord for his whole life pretty much. He's an academy graduate. He's been playing regularly for the first team for the last 5 years, give or take. I don't think he was particularly favoured by Jaap Stam when he was the manager there. But then when Dick Advocaat came in, he was reinstated to the first team and has been a regular starter ever since then. Made his debut in the Champions League all the way back in 2017. So he's got a fair amount of experience, and especially in the last 2 campaigns where he's pretty much been undroppable. I think he had pretty much completed the full 90 in every one of the Eredivisie fixtures last term up until the last two. So a really essential player for them. I think he got a goal and 4 assists last year in the League Two. So his attacking output took a big step up, and obviously made the Conference League final. A really impressive campaign for Feyenoord as well. Of course, they went unbeaten up until the final against Roma. So yeah, like a very strong defensive display from them, throughout that tournament. And yeah, Malacia was a big part of that as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot of plus points to this. He's known to be a very athletic left back. He can get up and down the pitch really quickly. Obviously, that's kind of pretty much the kind of bread and butter for fullbacks now in the modern game. He's a very strong tackler. His kind of anticipation, I think, is very good. I think he makes about 4 tackles and interceptions per 90. His tackle success rate is pretty good as well. I think the kind of main criticisms I've seen of him are mainly his positioning, both in defence and attack. So that would be a little bit of a worry for me. But again, this is a kind of situation where I think, as fans, you have to have a bit of patience and trust that, working under Ten Hag for like a year or two will hopefully, see him improve in those areas. And, perhaps working with, a player like Luke Shaw, who I think his positioning has been called into question in recent years as well, but I think generally in the last 2 years has improved. So yeah, I think he will be a good kind of understudy to Shaw in this kind of first season under Ten Hag, and maybe he'll even be thrown into the starting lineup early on, and Shaw will have to kind of battle for his place again. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It's definitely not the transfer I expected to happen first for United. I didn't even think left back was really that much of an area of concern in the short term. Midfield and right back and centre forward certainly are more positions of priority in my eyes. But yeah, it's a sign that Ten Hag is getting the targets he wants, at least, or getting the first target that he wants. So yeah, in that sense, I think it's a positive.
Yeah, I like this move as well, mainly because how cheap it is as well. I think 15 million euros is the sort of fee that can't really backfire, especially given his age and the fact that Tellez
it did with Tellez, to be fair. That was exactly the same that they paid.
But to be fair, because Tellez is 29, he doesn't really have a sell-on value, whereas Malacia, even if it goes badly, he could probably still recoup the fee. But Tellez, I think, is a massive disappointment. I remember watching him live, and I've always got a bit of a soft spot for anyone I watch live. And he was against for Porto against Setúbal, and they won 5-0, and Tellez was just leagues above everyone else in that league at the time. And he's just been really, really disappointing at Man United, to be totally honest. But I like the sound, I like the look of Malacia. I don't have extensive, experience watching him, but on brief highlight packages that I watched today, as McCubb says, really quick, loves the slide tackle seemingly. Maybe not that strong in the air, which is maybe a slight area of weakness, but I do think Luke Shaw and Erik Ten Hag, I think Erik Ten Hag will really like Luke Shaw, to be honest. I thought the season before last, under Solskjaer, he was one of the best left-backs in Europe. Last year was a really injury-hit campaign. Didn't seem like he really got going last year, I think, after playing so many games the previous year and then that Euros run, of course. So I think this is a sensible understudy, and if they can get rid of Tellez and recoup 80% of that fee maybe, then I think this is a smart move from Man United. But as we say, we are more interested potentially in what happens in the next week or so with Frankie de Jong, which appears to be moving closer and may even be completed by the time this video goes live. Henry, let's move on to Riddle Baku, which is coming from Shradek_Junior. Now, he's been an interesting player for quite a while now.
Yeah, just quickly, I feel real sorry for Frankie de Jong. Getting bullied into a move. But yeah, Riddle Baku. I like this guy. I think he's been great last 2 seasons at Wolfsburg. Obviously, Wolfsburg had a difficult campaign last year, but Baku's always sort of stood out. A £9 million addition. He's racked up 76 appearances in his time with De Wolfe, contributing 11 goals, 13 assists. And I think the best thing about him is he's just such a versatile player. He'd be such a useful addition if you bring him in. I mean, last year we saw him play at right wing back, right wing, 1 game in central midfield, left wing as well. I mean, 3 goals, 5 assists and 34 league games. But I mean, when you're being moved around the pitch so much to try and sort of nail down any kind of level of consistency is very tricky. I mean, if you just look at his... compared to fullbacks, he's incredibly fast and incredibly quick. He ranks in the top 10% fullbacks for non-penalty goals, shots, non-penalty goals and assists. progressive passes, all that kind of stuff, pressures as well. So he really gets himself about the pitch, works incredibly hard for the team. I'm not surprised he's been recommended so far. He's not particularly good in the air, 43% aerial win rate, but it's not necessarily his main sort of what he's in the side to contribute. In terms of him as a player up for sale, I don't think so. I think Wolfsburg are looking to reset next year. Bear in mind they were only in the Champions League very recently, so they're not exactly sort of short of cash. I don't think they have to make any drastic sort of changes, and I really like their business so far this summer. Sort of building on that excellent Jonas Wind addition last January, and it sort of looks like they're pushing on a little bit. And with Mbabu looking like he's going to join Fulham, a move I really like as well.
What do you make of that, Henry?
Yeah, I'm really pleased about that. Sort of, he's been around for a while, hasn't he? He can play right back. He can play centre back as well, which I think is going to be really important next year. Just because it's not going to be easy at times, and as long as we've got defenders that can sort of chip in everywhere, that's going to be great. So yeah, I like Mbabu coming to Fulham, but that kind of gives even more emphasis on Wolfsburg holding on to Baku, German international should say as well. So yeah, I mean the only thing is, if you're looking at teams that could take him on, Tottenham still haven't announced the Jed Spence deal. I think Nottingham Forest getting excited again, looking like they might be able to get him after all. After that excellent Taiwo Awoniyi deal, I think that's really brilliant to get him in for like £17 million, wherever it is. 12 goals in the Bundesliga last term, I think, well, 15 maybe even. I think that's a really, really solid addition by Nottingham Forest. Also we've got here Dortmund could potentially be a place for Baku to go to as well. Meunier, who I've obviously that's where my soft spot lies. I thought he came on strong at the end of last season. Marius Wolf as well came into the side a bit more, still only 27. So yeah, maybe not this year, but certainly down the line with 3 years remaining on his contract. Let's just wait and see what happens, because he's still young, he's electric, he can offer a lot. So yeah, Riddle Baku, great contribution. I just don't think he's going to be on the move anytime soon.
Yeah, I think you're right. This might be a one for 2023, but as you say, so versatile, so quick as well. And just with some really excellent feet, he looks like a really hot prospect and has played, exceptionally well when I've seen him play for Germany as well. So very excited about that one. Let's move on to New Age Purist suggestion, who has suggested Charles De Ketelaere. I think I've been pronouncing it Ketelaere, but I think I looked it up earlier and it's Ketelaere. Anyway, he plays for Club Brugge. Brilliant player by the looks of things. Still so young as well, only 21. And he is so versatile. I think he can play on the left. I think he plays as a 10. Can play off the right. But he actually played most of his football last year as a central striker, which isn't that surprising when you see him as well. He's 6'3", but doesn't have the sort of characteristics that tend to go with big strikers. Like, his feet are exceptional. He's almost got the sort of technical control of someone like a Phil Foden. And he was brilliant last year. 18 goals and 10 assists in 49 games. Was in a really difficult Champions League group as well with Leipzig and Man City and PSG, and managed to grab an assist against Leipzig. But watching his highlights earlier today, like he had some moments in all those games, particularly against PSG, where some of his cutbacks were so close to creating proper danger in those games. Helped Club Brugge win the title as well. Can do a bit of everything. I don't think he's a massive sort of shot monster in Belgium. I think it's about 2.2 shots. It's about the same amount of key passes and maybe slightly fewer dribbles. But I think clubs like Leeds and AC Milan are leading the race for him. Apparently there was interest from Leicester City as well, but that seems to have quietened. Leeds are obviously going to make a massive windfall off Rafinha. Fair play to them. They've had him for 2 years. They're going to make a £35 million profit. Can't really complain with that. And they do need some really high quality additions in that side now. They've lost probably their two best players from last year, with Bamford not fully fit, in Phillips and Rafinha. And I do slightly worry for Leeds, even though I think Mark Rocker is a good addition. They do need some strength in central defence, some strength in midfield. Basically all over the park, I think Leeds could do with 1 or 2 additions. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. There was interest from AC Milan in De Ketelaere as well, but we'll see whether that materialises. Supposedly Milan have the budget to sign Origi, Ziyech and De Ketelaere, but we'll see whether that actually comes to fruition. I think Ziyech, Chelsea will probably drive quite a hard bargain, given that they need cash to sort out their defence, their midfield, and to complete these forward signings of Richarlison, potentially Rafinha and Sterling. So we'll see what happens with this player, but I think from watching highlights of him, he looks absolutely excellent. So I'm very, very excited to see him potentially in the Premier League. McCubs, where would you like to go next with our uncovered gem that could potentially be on the move this summer?
Well, there's an interesting one from @Feginator, Martin Zubimendi, who's defensive midfielder at Real Sociedad. He's been a regular there for the last 2 seasons now. He's been a bit of a fixture in the side, and what is quite a well-established kind of midfield core there now, isn't he? But and obviously one of a number of homegrown players who have been produced by them in recent seasons. Obviously, kind of Oyarzabal, probably the other most kind of notable academy graduate in that time. And yeah, he's been very solid for them, for a side which I think is probably done. They've probably done quite well to challenge for Champions League football in the last few years. I don't think their squad is at the level of the kind of teams above them. And yeah, I mean, they finished 5th and 6th in the last 2 seasons in which he's been a regular starter. They hadn't finished as high as that since kind of 2014-15 when they were qualifying for the Champions League. And yeah, last season ended up being a bit of an uninspired one for them, I think. They only ended up scoring 40 league goals, really misfiring up top, weren't they? Especially Alexander Isak. But they only conceded 37, which was better than the likes of Madrid and Barca. Only Sevilla and Betis conceded fewer than them across the course of the campaign. So I think he had a pretty strong season in that sense. Marshalling the kind of area in front of the back line. Having said that, he's not like a destroyer. Like he only makes 3.5 tackles and interceptions per 90. For kind of real tough tackling defensive midfielders, you're usually looking at kind of around 5 tackles and interceptions per 90 minutes. But he is, just generally quite a decent kind of metronome kind of player. He completes 75% of his dribbles, so he's quite a decent ball progressor. He has an 85% pass completion as well. So yeah, he's a good. He's a solid defensive midfielder. I think the only problem with him is that he's not necessarily a kind of physical type, and so clubs who are looking for almost a bit kind of Jorginho-esque. Like he's a good tidy passer, but he's not going to be like, if you put him up against like some super aggressive press, he might struggle. And in that sense, La Liga isn't a super high pressing league, so he kind of does suit the Spanish top flight in that sense. So I don't know, if you'd want to necessarily recommend him to a Premier League or say a Bundesliga club, because I just don't know if he has those kind of attributes that are suited to those leagues. But if you're looking somewhere like Sevilla or like Inter, you've got down here as cover for Brozovic. I don't mind that at all. I also think Atletico Madrid, as cover for Kondogbia. Obviously, Atletico Madrid are a side that at least last season were looking like Diego Simeone was pretty set on them playing a more possession-based game, and that's what you see at Real Sociedad. Club that they like kind of slow build-ups, etc. He might even suit a club like Atleti, although he would be facing a bigger challenges in the Champions League. But I wouldn't, at the right price, I feel like he might be a good pickup for them too.
Yeah, I like the look of Zubamendi. I remember recommending him for, I think it was Spurs on the Extra Time podcast quite a while ago now. This is pre they signed Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and I think he's slowly developing into a really nice player. I don't think he's ever going to be like an elite Champions League player, but as you say, a very tidy defender. I think he reads the game exceptionally well. He always nips in just before the sort of killer moment, as it were. So yeah, one to keep an eye on, Zubamendi for sure. Henry, where do you want to go next with our uncut gems?
Well, I'm devastated, Doogie. You didn't include any of my suggestions when you texted me earlier. So
I forgot. Yeah, who did you want to? There's someone at Montpellier. Shows what you think of my footballing knowledge. I recommended Steffi Mavidi at Montpellier, English forward. He's been scoring about 8 a season out there. Cyril Larin, who's a free agent from Besiktas, apparently Nottingham Forest. Looking at him, he's a winger. He's going to have a big part to play in Canada's World Cup return. And actually, I was writing just about Santiago Escobar from Hertha Berlin as a recommendation for Everton. He is 5'6", absolutely tenacious, ball crusher, something like 6 tackles and interceptions per 90. He says he wants to leave Hertha. They've said they'll let him go if the price is right. I think he's available for like 10 million euros. He's definitely better than Hertha and scrapping around. I recommended him as an alternative to Harry Winks for Everton in the recent scout report, but let me know at home if he's any good,
where you think he should go. I think he really could be a hidden gem, maybe not an uncut gem, but we'll see. But yeah,
Christian Uncut Gem's that movie, isn't it?
yeah.
Adam Sandler.
Sort of a paranoid Adam Sandler. Yeah. So Christian Aslani comes in from @Zach34467134. I like this guy. I think he's pretty good. He's just looks like he's been bought by Inter Milan as cover for Brozovic in the midfield. He's an Albanian international. He made 26 appearances last term for Empoli, which isn't loads, but Empoli are so impressive for a club that basically Serie A new boys really sort of cemented their place in the top half last season. And I think Aslani was a big part of that. I mean, his numbers don't sound impressive. Only ranks in the top 45% of midfielders for interceptions. He's in the bottom 25% for progressive carries, passes, blocks, and aerials won. But if you watch him, I think he's a really underrated operator on the pitch. He's a ball winner. He's got a really great first touch. He can spread a long pass as well. He's an all-action midfielder. I think he really just helped break down play for Empoli last season and keep them in the matches at the toughest moments. And the one goal he scored was really well taken as well. So yeah, I think he's only young, and if he's going to go to Inter and just sort of learn behind Brozovic, one of the very best in the world, I think that's a really great move for him and for Empoli too and for Inter. So yeah, I like this addition. Even if it doesn't work out Inter, I think Aslani is someone we're going to hear about within Europa League context for a few years to come. So yeah, great choice.
Yeah, nice. I saw on his highlight package that he scored nearly scored direct from a corner as well, which is fun. I'm not suggesting that he tries that all the time, but it's fun to see someone occasionally go for that. @Sean15 Mackenzie, regular contributor, thank you very much, Sean. He suggested Elif Elmas, the North Macedonian. He's one of their stars of their Euro 2020 run and their World Cup qualifying campaign as well. Alongside Goran Pandev, he's one of their big hopes for the future, and he's been at Napoli for quite a while now. Bit of a bit part player, so I mean he's only got 11 goals and 8 assists in 126 games for Napoli since joining from Fenerbahce I think it was 3 years ago. But a lot of those appearances have come off the bench. He's not been a regular starter, but he does chip in. I think he's very good technically. I think he could become a key player at a lower side, if that makes sense. So, Valencia aren't sort of typically a smaller club than Napoli, but they aren't performing anywhere close to Napoli's ability at the moment. They're supposedly losing Carlos Soler, they're supposedly losing Gonzalo Guedes, although neither of those moves have been completed as we film this as well. So maybe Elif Elmas would be a reasonable pickup for a club like Valencia, although if I was him, I'd probably stay away from Valencia, to be totally honest as well. It's such a hive of chaos at the moment. My Cubs, Kouadio Koné was suggested by Dan the Man Gideon. I think Kouadio Koné looked excellent in his minutes at Gladbach last year.
Yeah, and especially considering he was a new player at the club, especially considering that Borussia Mönchengladbach, by all accounts, didn't have a very good season last year as well. I think you have to give him a lot of credit. 21-year-old central midfielder coming into the Bundesliga for the first time, and performing really, really solidly and making himself quite a key part of that team, and a team which actually for many years has been pretty well stocked in the kind of central midfield position. So yeah, I think he's an immense talent. And has come through. You came through at Toulouse, which a club that has produced a lot of talent over the years. Made 37 appearances for them in Ligue 2 in that 2021 campaign, just after they'd been relegated from the top flight. Was a key player there, and then got picked up by Gladbach last year, and his numbers look very, very decent. He completes 85% of his passes, top 3% of midfielders in Europe for dribbles completed and interceptions as well. So unlike Zubamendi, I think Koné maybe is a kind of player who has those kind of attributes of a more kind of modern kind of defensive midfielder who can kind of do it all. I don't even know you'd call him necessarily just defensive midfielder, but he can kind of operate kind of box to box, I think, a bit better. He's got 3 years remaining on his current deal. His value is around £16 million, which is not that much at all. And of course, the Bundesliga, especially more middling clubs tend to get better deals out of that league as well. I think he could be a good option for a number of clubs this summer.
Yeah, I really like the look of him. Whenever I watch highlights of Gladbach last year, he did really look like the standout with Neuhaus's form really taking a drop off, and Zakaria really sort of plotting that move to Juventus. I think in the end, his head didn't look totally in it last year. Final suggestion is Lewis Ferguson from Jordan's series of numbers. Now, I don't watch the SPFL, but I think I will now to catch a glimpse of Lewis Ferguson. He's nephew of Barry Ferguson, of Rangers and Scotland legendary status, let's say. But his numbers are really, really impressive. He's got 37 goals and 23 assists in 169 games for Aberdeen. Now, I want any SPFL fans to let us know, is he ready for a top 5 league, or do you want to see him continue to develop at Aberdeen? He's still only 22, of course. Has a very impressive record in Europa League and Conference League qualifying for Aberdeen as well. So potentially worth the gamble. I know Serie A clubs really like Scottish talent at the moment, with Aaron Hickey having excelled for Bologna. So maybe a club like Torino, who really struggled for goals last year, might think about picking up Lewis Ferguson. Henry, my question to you, out of all these hidden gems, not uncut gems, out of all these hidden gems, which would you most like? I mean, Fulham are looking for this sort of player, this sort of, rough diamond, let's say. Of all these players, who would you most want Fulham to sign if budget wasn't really an issue?
Quick shout out to the Aberdeen Academy, by the way. Aberdeen are doing great things at the moment.
Time.
Sort of emerging from the shadow of Rangers and Celtic with some of their junior production, Calvin Ramsey, etc. So I really like Kouadio Koné. I really do. Watching his highlights, even watching him for a bit last season, so composed, so elegant. We lost Anguissa, and I think Anguissa at his best had some of those amazing ball carrying abilities from deep. If we could get him, valued at 16 million, if we could get him, I'd absolutely love to see that, because I do think we're going to need, although we are signing this Paulina guy from Sporting Club Portugal, but even so, I reckon another one like Kouadio Koné through the door could be great. So yeah, he's probably, out of everyone here, I'd go for. Elif Elmas, I don't think he's very good. I think he's great for Macedonia, but I think that's because he has to be. But I'm not a big fan of Elif Elmas. I think there's a reason he's been a bit part player in all the years he's been there. But yeah, Kouadio Koné maybe is my suggestion from this lot, other than Ketelaere, but I think Ketelaere has been kind of known about for a little while now.
Yeah, for sure. He's getting a move this summer. I think their record export from the Belgian Pro League is Jonathan David, and Club Brugge are looking to top that. I think they're looking for 40 million euros, which seems like, it's a lot of money, obviously, but potentially a deal worth doing. Let's quickly do a quick fire question. It comes in from Tough Toe, and it's actually not really football related. It's more of a personal question. He says, McCubs, James Bond or Ethan Hunt? Who's your favourite?
I don't know who Ethan Hunt is, so I'll say James Bond.
From the Bourne series,
what?
I think they are.
Oh, what? That's his name, is it?
He's from Mission Impossible. What are you talking about?
Right, okay. Oh, right. Yeah, I watched Mission Impossible once when I was like 10. And
what's the name of the guy in the Bourne
Didn't think
series?
it was much. Didn't think it was very good. So,
Jason Bourne.
Jason Bourne, yeah, from the Bourne. Yeah.
That's it,
I wasn't sure, because I know Jason Bourne in the Bourne series is known by something else at one point, right? Because he's like lost his memory and like he's given a different name, I think. So I thought maybe that's what you meant, but I guess I'll go James Bond then.
Yeah, I'd have to go James Bond as well, especially because I didn't know who Ethan Hunt was. Apparently, I thought it was the guy in the Bourne series, which I did think were good films, but I haven't seen them since I was a child. Henry, we can ask the part 2 of Tough Toe's question to you: Ellen DeGeneres or Graham Norton?
I mean, this is easy in the previous one. It's Graham Norton. It's one of the best chat shows on TV. Certainly not Ellen. There's a reason that's been cancelled. Listen, James Bond or Ethan Hunt? I actually had this debate yesterday. I think Tom Cruise is like the all-time great movie star. He's not an amazing actor, but as a movie star, he is on a different planet. I mean, that Top Gun film is off the chain, and actually, the Mission Impossible movies, although they're slightly nonsense, they're everything. They're just wild. They're just wild, and they're so brilliant, and so much work goes into it. It's what Fast and Furious should be, but it's just Fast and Furious is terrible as a series. Mission Impossible is great, and I think James Bond, I love James Bond, it's probably one of my favourite things ever, but I feel like they've faffed around a bit so much recently, they've forgotten that it's meant to just be a bit of entertainment at the end of it, and that is what Mission Impossible does. It's just like, here's a villain, here's a ridiculous plot, and here's some epic stunts that is going to get you to the end of this movie, and you'll walk away going, yeah, that was pretty wild. Tom Cruise was just flying, holding onto a plane. Ethan Hunt as a character is a lot more vanilla than James Bond, but it is quite spectacular. Although I'll always love James Bond, and I just hope the next films are a bit more fun, because I think they've been dire recently.
I didn't expect you to have such a detailed answer. That was brilliant. Fair enough. Yeah,
Henry's an action movie like buff.
Geek.
Like,
yeah.
You can remove
him and Joe are the ultimate action movie.
No. You can remove action, just movie in general, and I will not be lumped in with Joe Tomlinson, who went to see Jurassic World Dominion the other day, which by all accounts is an absolute disaster of a CGI experience. So yeah, I'm not. I'm not a big
whenever discussing movies with you, Henry, you've always been particularly impassioned about action ones. That's what I will say.
Fair enough.
All right.
He does action.
Yeah,
seat of your pants stuff with Henry Hill. Fair enough. Yeah, I think you might have offended quite a lot of our fan base by saying the Fast and Furious films were rubbish, but fair enough. On the second part of that question, yeah, I do think Graham Norton's like an excellent broadcaster, to be honest. I think he's one of the best in the UK. And he just gets the best answers out of these celebrities that generally don't like giving much away. So I totally agree with that. Ellen can get in the bin in comparison to Graham Norton. Anyway, guys, that was quite a random end to Continental Club. I hope you enjoyed our discussion about hidden gems throughout Europe. We had numerous shouts there, and hopefully gave you a bit more information about Tyrell Malacia as well, who is joining Man United. Hopefully that deal hasn't collapsed before this video goes live, but I don't think it would have. My Cubs, if they have enjoyed this and they want to watch more great Football Daily content, what should they go and watch now?
Go and watch last week's Continental Club if you want another nice long video. We talked about the clubs that are losing the transfer window so far. That was a really interesting discussion we had. And yeah, go and check out all our explains and all that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Anything from you, Henry?
I did a 10 on 10 clubs who've overhauled their transfer policy. It was actually quite interesting trying to find 10 clubs that are going in a different direction. So it's a few people all over the shop, maybe looking at why LAFC have signed Gareth Bale and Chiellini this window. And actually what was quite cool about LAFC is that they won the MLS, they came runners-up in the CONCACAF Champions League, and they're winning it again this year. And they've done that without buying aging superstars, which is what everyone accuses the MLS of being. They've actually been quite clever. Their biggest name was Carlos Vela, who's been amazing for them, and they bought him when he was 28. So just to see their change in policy was really cool. I enjoyed kind of digging into that. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, go check out that 10.
Love it. Shout out Carlos Vela. What a player. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye.